You know, that's what's so interesting about EMDR. You can always go back to an earlier phase and say, okay, so I'm going to go back to the resourcing phase, which is maybe want to build up a few more resources, and then see about the ear points and see what is activated.
And that's when we started to get a lot more stability. So again, we looked at the laterality point, and we started to look at pain memory points and psychotherapy points, anatomical points related to her trauma as well showed up.
We stimulate that point and we allow to see if that will actually help bring you back as well, so that then we can continue processing, because that's what we're really trying to do as clinicians. Is we want to stay on our edge of the window of tolerance, like Daniel Siegel's window of tolerance. We have the hyperarousal up here, the hypoarousal down here. We have the dorsal vagal shutdown where it goes numbing and our body starts to numb and do a feigned death. And then up here, we might have like a high freeze response. Within this is our social engagement system, just online doing fine. And then as the threat comes, the high freeze, and they kind of get stuck there. If somebody's really overwhelmed, the grounding can take a long time. And that's actually where German auricular comes in too. Another way to kind of bring somebody back within the window of tolerance, as well as if the threat continues and your body starts to numb and you go into dorsal vagal shutdown, which often looks like in a client them being sleepy, tired, but it's not a sleepy tired like, oh, I just processed a lot and that feels good. It's a sleepy tired like I just want to curl up in a ball and shut down and numb everything out. And people talk about a numbing feeling in their body. Again, we want to bring them back to the window. What we do as therapists, again, is do grounding techniques, resourcing. And German auricular is suggesting that we have additional points to aid in that ability to bring somebody back within their window of tolerance. Because sometimes it can take quite a while to get somebody back. And some clients actually walk in and they just don't live it. They've never experienced living within a window of tolerance.
These sorts of points were really tender. There was a lot going on for this person.
The body realizes, oh, I can do this. I can go into something and I can come back. I can go into something and I can go back. Not I go into it and then I get stuck. That's what it's scared about doing. And that's what happens with trauma. We go into it and we get stuck. But what we're doing as clinicians with the German auricular, this is another tool to kind of, in a sense, help ground.
And it's interesting that when we stimulate the ear, we should be also considerate of the window of tolerance and the amount of pressure that we apply. Do you have thoughts or experience with this?
I do. And the amount of pressure I apply, I let the client lead me. So when I start, I put very light pressure and I'll just be turning very slowly and very lightly. I'll be watching for any signs of processing. It might be movement in the face, or it might be a body sensation. And I'll ask questions like, what does it feel like? And they might say it feels tender, or it feels sharp, or there's a burning sensation. And I'll ask questions like, just notice where that shows up in your body. Can you let me know if you have any feelings or emotions that feel linked to this point? And then there'll come a time where I'll say, does that feel like we can put more pressure on it or less pressure? Are you able to guide me through this? And most of the time, I find that they say, can you please do a little bit more pressure? And then when you do a little bit more pressure, usually they're tapping into something, because then they've had a connection to themselves and they have agency over this release. So there's this really special thing that happens. And something deep usually happens when we get to that point.
That's really nicely described. And we see some of that actually in the demonstration that you have in actual session of the use of neuro-auricular modulation for EMDR, and where we actually see responses by the client. So I like the way that you were talking to that and helped me understand that even a little bit deeper. In terms of this idea of agency by the client, right? and a very unique experience with receiving this on the ear.
And trauma usually happens to you, so that's kind of like you want to be giving them the power, so that power that they take then is actually part of the healing.